ನಮಸ್ತೆ.
You can start now.
ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ನಮ್ಮ ಕನ್ನಡ ಭಾಷೆ ಮತ್ತು ಅನುವಾದ ಅಧ್ಯಯನ ವಿಭಾಗವು ಆಯೋಜಿಸ್ತಾ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಈ ವೆಬಿನಾರ್ ಸರಣಿಯ 2ನೇ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ತಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ಸ್ವಾಗತ. ದ್ರಾವಿಡ ಜನಪದ ಮಹಾಕಾವ್ಯಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಡೀತಾ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಈ ವೆಬಿನಾರ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಕನ್ನಡ, ತೆಲುಗು, ತಮಿಳು, ತುಳು ಹಾಗೂ ಮಲಯಾಳಂನ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಪನ್ಮೂಲ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಗಳು ಬಹು ಆಯಾಮಗಳ ಒಳನೋಟಗಳನ್ನು ಒದಗಿಸಿಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಹೀಗಾಗಿಯೇ ತೆಲುಗು, ತಮಿಳು ಹಾಗೂ ಮಲಯಾಳಂ ಭಾಷೆಗಳ ಮಹಾಕಾವ್ಯಗಳ ಸಂಬಂಧಿ ವಿಚಾರಗಳು ಆ ಕ್ಷೇತ್ರದ ತಜ್ಞರಿಂದ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಮಂಡನೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಇದು ಕನ್ನಡದ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಶೋಧಕರಿಗೆ, ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳಿಗೆ, ಅಧ್ಯಯನಾಸಕ್ತರಿಗೆ ಹೊಸ ವಿಚಾರಗಳಿಗೆ ತೆರೆದುಕೊಳ್ಳಲು ಸಹಕಾರಿಯಾಗುವಂತದ್ದು. ಆಯಾ ಭಾಷೆಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಅಪಾರವಾದ ಕೆಲಸಗಳನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿರುವಂತಹ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಪನ್ಮೂಲ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಗಳು ನೀಡುವಂತಹ ಈ ವಿಚಾರಗಳು ನಾವು ಕನ್ನಡದ ಜನಪದ ಮಹಾಕಾವ್ಯಗಳನ್ನು ನೋಡಬೇಕಾಗಿರುವಂತಹ ಕ್ರಮಗಳಿಗೆ ಮುಖಾಮುಖಿಯಾಗುವಂತೆ ಮಾಡುವಲ್ಲವು. ನಮ್ಮ ದ್ರಾವಿಡ ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯದ ರೂಪಕಲ್ಪನೆಯು ಕೂಡ ಇದೇ ನೆಲೆಗಟ್ಟಿನದು. ದ್ರಾವಿಡ ಭಾಷೆ, ಸಾಹಿತ್ಯ, ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತಿಗಳ ಬಾಂಧವ್ಯವನ್ನು ಬೆಸೆಯುವ ಹಲವು ಕಾರ್ಯಗಳಿಗೆ ಸದಾ ತೆರೆದುಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇರುವಂತಹ ನಮ್ಮ ದ್ರಾವಿಡ ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯವು ಈಗ 25ನೇ ವರ್ಷದ ಸಂಭ್ರಮದತ್ತ ಹೆಜ್ಜೆ ಹಾಕ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ವಿಭಾಗವು 2005ರಿಂದ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭವಾಗಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿಯವರೆಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಮೌಲಿಕವಾದಂತಹ ಪ್ರಕಟಣೆಗಳು, ಅನುವಾದಗಳು, ವಿಚಾರ ಸಂಕಿರಣಗಳು, ಕಮ್ಮಟಗಳನ್ನು ಆಯೋಜನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಬಂದಿದೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ವಿಭಾಗದ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿ ಬಳಗವು ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ವರ್ಷಕ್ಕೆ ವಿಸ್ತಾರ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. MA, MPhil, PhD ಅಧ್ಯಯನದ ಬಳಿಕವೂ ಕೂಡ ಅವರು ನಮ್ಮೊಂದಿಗೆ ಸದಾ ಕೈ ಜೋಡಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಬಹಳ ಮುಖ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಸಾಹಿತ್ಯ ಸಂಸ್ಕಾರವನ್ನು ಮೈಗೂಡಿಸಿಕೊಂಡಿರುವಂತಹದ್ದು ವಿಭಾಗದ ಅಧ್ಯಾಪಕನಾಗಿ, ಮುಖ್ಯಸ್ಥನಾಗಿ ನನಗೆ ಬಹಳ ಹೆಮ್ಮೆಯ ಸಂಗತಿ. ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಈ ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸ 45-50 ನಿಮಿಷಗಳ ಕಾಲ ನಡೆಯಲಿದ್ದು, ನಂತರ ಸಂವಾದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವಕಾಶ ಇದೆ. ತಾವು ಚಾಟ್ ಬಾಕ್ಸ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಗೆ ಇನ್ಕಾಲ್ ಮೆಸೇಜ್ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳನ್ನು ಕೇಳಬಹುದು. ಫೀಡ್ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಕೊನೆಯ ವೇಳೆಗೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಚಾಟ್ ಬಾಕ್ಸ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಲಭ್ಯ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ತಾವಿದನ್ನು ಭರ್ತಿ ಮಾಡಿ ಸಲ್ಲಿಸಿದ್ರೆ ಈ ಸರ್ಟಿಫಿಕೇಟ್ ತಮ್ಮ ಇಮೇಲ್ಗೆ ಬರ್ತದೆ. ಇವತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ತೆಲುಗಿನ ಜನಪದ ವಿದ್ವಾಂಸರಾದ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಟಿ ಸುಬ್ಬಾಚಾರಿ ಸರ್ ಅವರಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರು ಇವತ್ತು ದ ಎಕ್ಸಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಫೋಕ್ ಎಪಿಕ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ತೆಲುಗು ಎಂಬ ವಿಷಯದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸವನ್ನು ನೀಡಲಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ವಿಭಾಗದ ಪರವಾಗಿ, ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ನಾನು ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕವಾದಂತಹ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನು ಬಯಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ. ಹಾಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯದ ಹಲವು ವಿಭಾಗದ ಪ್ರಾಧ್ಯಾಪಕರು ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಇವತ್ತು ಇಲ್ಲಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ದೇಶದ ವಿವಿಧ ಭಾಗಗಳಿಂದ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿ ಮಿತ್ರರು, ಸಂಶೋಧಕರು, ಅಧ್ಯಾಪಕರು ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಸೇರ್ತಾ ಇರುವಂತಹದ್ದು ಬಹಳ ಸಂತಸದ ಸಂಗತಿ. ಈಗ ವಿಚಾರ ಸಂಕಿರಣದ ನಿರ್ದೇಶಕರಾದ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಜಯಲಲಿತಾ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಅವರು ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರನ್ನು ಸ್ವಾಗತಿಸ್ತಾ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಅತಿಥಿಗಳನ್ನು ಪರಿಚಯ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಳ್ಳಲಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಮೇಡಮ್.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸರ್. ಸರ್ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ?
ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ.
Good evening everyone and welcome to today's session in the series on Dravidian folk epics. I would like to introduce today's presenter, Professor Pulikonda Subbachari, a well-known folklorist, who is going to give a special lecture on the existence and function of folk epics in Telugu. We were very fortunate that Sir was served as a professor in the Department of Folklore and Tribal Studies in our university. He got MA, MPhil, PhD degrees from Osmania University. He did his research in MPhil, PhD in Folklore Studies. His PhD thesis on caste, myths and dependent caste systems. He was awarded Ramaraju Janapada Vijnana Bahumati, a prestigious award for his book Structural Study of Telugu Wonder Tale. Sir also worked as a General Secretary for AP Janapad Sahitya Parishad from 2002 to 2003. He credited more than 150 research articles in Telugu and English in various national and international journals. He published 13 books, in that 6 books on folklore itself. He presented 55 seminars in various states and chaired many sessions. He has been recognized as a folklorist across India and as an Indian folklorist in other countries too. One special thing is, he is not only a folklorist but also a poet and critic in Telugu. His poem Telangana Talli got lot of reputation in Telugu literature world. Sir, thanks a lot for accepting our invitation. We would love to hear from you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Namaskaram. So, good evening, everyone. Earlier we used to say that good evening to all on the dais and off the dais. And now we have to say good evening to everyone who are visible on the screen and off the screen. I express my sincere thanks to the Department of Kannada, Dravidian University, for inviting me to deliver this lecture. And particularly, it is my homecoming to Dravidian University. Professor Sharada Garu, Professor Jailalalitha Garu, Durga Praveen, and many of my friends are visible on the screen. And I'm very happy to join in this program and to speak something on folk epics in Telugu. And first, I would like to earlier in the last session, I was listening to the same program on the webinar series in the first lecture. It was in Kannada. I could follow to some extent. After that, I left the meeting. Some important points I got from that lecture also. And first, I would like to have a discussion. And this could not be a monotonous one-way kind of traffic. And there could be some interaction between various scholars who joined in this program. And I prepared a paper actually. This is my paper, and this is it would be very painful to listen to reading of this paper now, and particularly in this context. And now and then I read and I speak. I cannot speak I can understand Kannada, modern Kannada, but I cannot present a paper. I cannot write a paper in Kannada. So that please bear with my language, inability of presenting in Kannada. I present it in English itself. So please listen to me. At first, I would like to discuss the problem with the categorization, the problem with the genre classification, and how to translate the word epic itself. The epic, particularly the folk epic, what is the native word? What is the native category in Indian languages? What is it actually? And there's just Durga Praveen, he is mentioning that Mahakavya. And even an earlier scholar, he was mentioning folk epic as Janapada Mahakavya. Is it a correct translation? And even in the Hindi literature and Hindi folklore criticism also, they used to say that epic is translated as Mahakavya. But in Indian aesthetics, in Indian Kavya Shastra, it is clearly mentioned that what is Kavya and what is Mahakavya. Mahakavya is Sargabandho Mahakavya. It is mentioned in the Dandi Kavya Darsham. It's very clear. What is Kavya, what is Kavya and what is Mahakavya. It's very clear. But what is epic? How do you translate it? And the epic in either in Kannada or Telugu or in Hindi. Is it a correct translation to say Mahakavya to epic? So I need not go to the definitions of various definitions of folk epic. What is epic and what is folk epic? So many definitions are there, and a lot of literature is there to understand what is an epic. It's very clear that the epic is a long poem. Long. How long is long? That's another question. How long is long? For a short story, maybe 1,000 lines may be long, and 10,000 lines of verses are also long, and 1 lakh sloka of Mahabharata is also a long. So how long is a long? How long is a long, and how do you define which length of the story is epic? Either 500 lines, 1000 lines, 15,000 lines, 1 lakh lines. What is it actually? Then the story of an exemplar person, a hero, a big hero. So these kind of definitions are given to epic. Then epic is not one genre. Let us remember that epic is not one genre. It is the UR term for many genres. I'll give some examples. Let us say the epic of I'll give you. I'll here and there I'll read and I'll interact with you now and then. You can raise question at any time. You can raise your hand. And this is the genre classification of folk epic raises many questions in Indian context. We need not go for what is epic, its various definitions immediately now. However, we must rethink the analytical category of the folk epic. Folk epic is not an ethnic category. It is not an ethnic genre. Samita, proverb is an ethnic genre. Pata is ethnic genre. Katha is an ethnic genre. And Patam Katha is an ethnic genre. Pichukunti Katha is an ethnic genre. But epic is not an ethnic genre. It's an analytical category. It is categorized by the scholars. Then, how Indian scholars could categorize an epic and how could you translate it into our Indian language? That's a big question. And how epic is translated? Let us say, if you say Mahabharata is an epic, in the Indian context, in Indian language, it is an itihasam. It's maybe a Puranam also. And 18 categories are given in Nanay Mahabharata. How to understand Mahabharata? But it is a culmination of many genres. Then if Ramayana is an epic for foreigners, Ramayana is a kavya. It's not a Puran when you compare it with the Mahabharata. Then Paradise Lost is an epic. But similarly, in Telugu, Mahakavya need not necessarily an epic. Mahakavya need not necessarily an epic. Manucharitra, you may call it an epic. Sungara Nakshatra, you may call it an epic. But it's not, it is a kavya, basically. So, this is the question. We start with the question that what is epic in Telugu? What is folk epic in Telugu? How do you understand that? That's a question. The fundamental contrast between the Mahakavya and the folk is the folk epics are created on the spot in the oral tradition. Very clear. And the Mahakavya belongs to the written tradition and is not created in the live context in a continuous mode. Kavya and Mahakavya words cannot be used for the genre of epic, either epic or folk epic. You cannot use the epic, folk epic either to Kavya or to Mahakavya in Indian context. That is a different one. And even in the European countries, even in the Western countries, epic is not a single genre. There also a ballad, a long poem, and many kinds of stories are there in this one. In Indian context, in Agni Purana, it is clearly mentioned that Kadha, Parikadha, Kandakadha, Upakadha, Kadhalika, these kind of categories are there. Okay then. If the Ramayana is a great epic to Westerners, it's a kavya in our literary categorization. If the Mahabharata is a great epic, it is Purana in Itihasa for us. If Manucharitra is an epic, for us, it is a Prabandha. Prabandha is different from kavya. That's also there. Later is, if the Mallanna Katha is an epic, great epic, Mallanna Katha, it went on to 1600 pages. 1600 pages, and in each page, if you take 25 to 30 lines, 35 lines, how big it is. But this Mallanna Katha, it has many internal episodes, Parikadas, Upakadas are there. But if you call it Mellamba Katha as an epic, it's a myth. If you call Mallanna Katha is an epic, it's a myth. If you call Balanagamma Katha is an epic, but it's a wonder tale, then how do you understand the genre of epic? So, even in Indian context, the epic cannot be translated with the word kavyas or mahakavyas. So you have to translate it in Purakatha, Puranamu, Itihasamu, Katha, Parikatha, Kandakatha. In such all genres you have to translate it. So epic cannot be translated in one term in Indian language. This is my very important idea to project here. It's also. Then we'll go to some kind of what is the conceptual base, the fundamental base concept of an epic. We can understand here the definition of folk given by Felix J. Oines. The multiple generic nature of the epic. Many scholars in Western countries, in European countries, they noticed the multiple generic quality of an epic. The epic can be divided into following categories. What are these categories? Shamanistic epic, heroic epic, romantic epic, and historic epic. So there are many genres within the rubric, within the UR term of an epic. Then we are going to the basic concept. I think I can take 50 minutes to 1 hour, and we need some time for discussion, for interaction. I think Durga Praveen, can I take 45 minutes more? Okay, he's not on the online, it seems. Anyhow, now let us discuss in terms of Telugu folk epics. What kind of Telugu folk epics are there, and how we have to categorize them, and how we have to understand them, and what is existence and what is function. That's also very important. Now, I'll say that Yellamma Katha. Yellamma Katha is an epic, a very long poem. Yellamma Katha is available on 27 hours. Epic is there, 27 hours. And Mallanna Katha, we have recorded in Dravida University premises itself for 65 hours. And 65 hours performance, it was there for 12 days, 12 nights or 12 nights. Even in Telugu states, even today, there are 72 various kinds of performance traditions, alive, vibrant. Among 72, at least 20 performing traditions are very vibrant and very alive, and they are performing many epics, many wonder tales. So then, what are they actually? Why they perform? To whom they perform? Then, many epics are disappeared. Many performance traditions are disappeared. Then, what is the reason for sustenance, for existence of a folk performance, a folk epic? And what is the reason for disappearance of extinct of a folk epic and extinct of a performance tradition? Why? How can we understand that? At least in Telangana, at least 200 Waggu Katha performing troops are vibrant, alive, and they are getting livelihood. Why is this art form is so much popular, and they are getting 200 performance troops means 200 into 5. At least 1,000 artists are getting livelihood by performing this traditional art form Waggu Katha. And Sharada Katha, it is also an epic performing tradition. You can hardly find 10 to 15 families who are performing Sharada Katha. And the other performing tradition is there, Korrajulavaru and Pandavulavaru. There are also a big number of performers are there, and various kinds of 11 kinds of narrative performance traditions are there. They are also performing epics, various epics of origin, epics or origin narratives, and many other. Runja Katha, it is on the verge of extinction, and some of the performance traditions are totally disappeared. What is the reason? How do you understand that? Why some art forms and why some epic traditions are alive and why some are extincted? Then there is a logic. When there is a patronize, when there are some people to patronize one epic tradition, when there are some people are there to patronize one performance tradition, it will be alive. Otherwise, if nobody is caring to watch it, nobody is caring to patronize certain performing tradition, certain epic. Nobody is caring to listen to certain epic. It will be extincted. It will be disappeared. Then here, the other reason for the sustenance and continuation of an epic is its association with the ritual. That's very important. Very important aspect is when a performance tradition is attached to a ritual, attached to social belief system, attached to that, then it will continue for as long as the ritual is believed. As long as the people of that particular language group or people of that particular ethnic group, they believe in particular one ritual, and the associated myth, the associated performance tradition will continue. And in Telangana, the Kurma community, the Kurma caste is widespread, and it's a very strong ethnic category, very strong caste, and they believe in their rituals very strongly. They have very strong belief system, and many of the domestic rituals also, the Vagu Pujari should come into their house and he has to perform certain kind of rituals along with a song narrative. Then for this reason, thousands of Kurma families, they are patronizing this performance tradition, Vagu Katha, along with many epics which are there, which are being performed by Vagu Katha tradition. Very clear now. And at the same time, in Telangana, in Andhra Pradesh also, the Reddy caste, the Reddy community is very strong, very rich landowning community, ruling community. They too have one performance tradition that is called Pichugunti Katha. And in Pichugunti Katha, they perform the origin narratives of Reddy community, Reddy caste, that is called Pichugunti Kunti Malla Reddy Katha. But the art form, Pichugunti Katha, is on the verge of extinction. And if after some years, you may not come across the performance tradition of Pichugunti Katha, and you may not listen, you may not be able to hear the Kuntimalla Reddy Katha. Why? What is the reason? And the Reddy caste, the Reddy community they can patronize, they can sustain their art form, but they are not interested. They are not so much interested. And they are not showing at all some kind of interest towards their own origin narrative, towards their own dependent community, and many of the performers are not getting livelihood. What is the other reason is the Pichugunti Katha or Kuntimalla Reddy Katha is not attached to the rituals that are there among the Reddy community, Reddy caste. That is another reason. But here in the case of Kurmas, many rituals, they happen along with the performance tradition. That is not there in Pichugunti Katha, in the case of Pichugunti Katha. So the existence of an epic tradition, the existence of a performance tradition, that is something very important. That is something related to the rituals of everyday life. Let us not forget this very, very important aspect of the sustenance, the existence of a performance tradition, the existence of an epic tradition. And in many of the epics of mother goddesses, they are still continuing. At least once in a year, at least Ellamma Katha is there. And on 2nd January, there will be a 3 days Jatara, Ellamma Jatara near Hyderabad itself in the Patancheru. And within this 3 days Jatara, some performance traditions come there, they perform the epic of Ellamma. Of course, epic of Ellamma may not be narrated, may not be performed every month or any other seasons, but at least once in a year, there will be a Jatara, there will be an epic. Many of Mutyalamma, Peddamma, Ellamma, Nokalamma, Paiditalli, many mother goddesses have their own myth, their own epic, their own Purakatha. And there are so many art forms are there to perform these epics of mother goddesses. So mother goddesses epics are continuing, they are sustaining into the posterity. They are going into the posterity. The reason is all these epics are associated to a ritual, annual ritual. So the ritual, because the ritual is connected to a god or a goddess. Mallanna Katha is continuing because Mallanna is a god, is a caste god, and the belief system says that you cannot forget a god or goddess. So the rituals will be continued until the gods are there and goddesses are there. That is the reason when a performance tradition, when an epic tradition which is connected to a ritual has long life, they are continuing. But which epic traditions do not have this connection to the rituals, they are not continuing, they are not sustaining, their existence is in question. I'll come to give some more very important aspects. I'm not reading at all my paper, but let us go to some live examples and some historical facts. So what's here? We have great epics in Telugu. That is, Bobbili Yuddham is a great epic. And it happened in 1758. And Bobbili Yuddham was there in oral tradition for a long time. And I went to the Vijayanagaram district, and Vijayanagaram district, I met the descendants of the Bobbili heroes. Even today they are there. I asked one prince of the Bobbili family, asked that, sir, I would like to record the epic of Bobbili in live performance. Can you suggest some performance troops which are still performing the Bobbili Yuddham epic? He could not give answer immediately. He said that there are 3-4 villages, sir, in, I think, near to Samarlakota. Some families are, Jangam families are there. They used to perform the Bobbili Yuddham Katha. But I traveled extensively in those districts. I could not come across even a single performer who can perform the Bobbili Yuddham epic. It is very recent one. And Bobbili, you cannot find a performer, you cannot find a performance tradition who can perform the Bobbili Yuddham epic. What is the reason? It is a very recent one, 1758 that it happened. And until 1960s and 1970s, there are some people who can perform Bobbili Yuddham Katha. The reason is, there is no wide social group that can patronize the Bobbili Yuddham epic. It's very clear. How many families are there who belongs to the Bobbili clan, the Bobbili heroes, clan of the Bobbili heroes? Hardly you can find 10 or 15 families. And where are they? Whether they are patronizing this epic or not? Whether they are patronizing the performers of who can narrate the Bobbili Yuddham Katha? No, nobody. And even this Bobbili Yuddham epic is not associated to a ritual. That is why you cannot find a Bobbili Yuddham oral tradition today. Same is the case of Palnati Yuddham. Palnati Yuddham is also very long epic. G.N. Rogher, he came to Andhra Pradesh and he tried to, I'll show you that book. This is the epic of Palnadu. It's a wonderful, great work. It's a great work. But he did not record the Bobbili Yuddham epic. Text is given in this one, in this book. But how he recorded, how G.N. Rogher has recorded the Palnati Yuddham epic. He did not record, he did not document the Palnati Yuddham epic in a live context, in a ritual. Even today, Palnati, Karampudi, the place where the actual Palnadu war happened, their shrine is there, and it's a temple for all the Palnati heroes. It is there. And you can see the weapons which are actually used by the heroes of Palnadu. You can find. And there is 5-day rituals are there in Karampudi. And when I was working in the Dravidian University Department of Folklore and Tribal Studies, I went to Palnadu, Karamchedu, and I was there for 1 week for field work. And I saw some Palnati Veera Vidyavantulu who can perform the Palnati Yuddham epic. But what happened there? In all the 5-day rituals, the Palnati Veera Vidyavantulu, they came there and they performed their performance only for half an hour or 15 minutes or 10 minutes. Many performance troops came there and they performed for 15 minutes and 10 minutes. That's it. There is no performance of Palnati Yuddham. And nobody has recorded Palnati Yuddham complete length in live context at the ritual place or other place. Then Jean Roger in Nagarjun Sagar, he invited some performers to his place, to his guest house, and he asked them to perform the Palnadu Yuddham epic, and he recorded there, and he transcribed it, and he presented in this book. But in the same as the Katamraju Katha, and Katamraju Katha is traditionally used to perform by Komulavaru, Yadavas communities, but nobody is there. Today, nobody is there to perform the Katamraju Katha. The great scholar, my guru, Tangiral Venkata Subbarao Garu, he collected the Katamraju Kathalu series, a cycle of Katamraju Kathalu, and he got published them in the 70s itself, 1960. He did his great research work in the 60 decade, in the decade of 60s. And in the decade of 70s, the then Andhra Pradesh Sahitya Academy published the Katamraju Kathalu. It's a great work. You can go through the great epic of Katamraju Kathalu in these 2 volumes. But the text of these in these books, it is not live. It is not live context. It was not there in the live context. The text was not a live performance. It was collected from palm leaves. It was collected from the text, palm leaf text. That's very important. That's very important. So that the epic of Palnadu and the epic of Katamraju Katha are very important through Telugus. But oral tradition, it is not there now. But even in my childhood, when I was in the 10 years old and 12 years old, so Pichukunti artists also perform Palnadu Yuddham Katha. The Pichukunti artists who came for Bhimavaram, it's very near to the Jamalapuram village, and Katti Potras, even I remember their names and I met them. And again, I tried to record the Palnadu epic there with the help of the Potraju team. Then no artist from that team are live now. They are no more. And they performed the Palnadu Yuddham Katha for 9 days in my village. And finally, when the Balachandrudu, he fall in the battleground, they demanded the villagers to sacrifice one goat. And the villagers, they gave the team a goat and they sacrificed the goat on the spot when the Balachandrudu fall down in the battlefield. And the epic went on for 9 days, 9 nights actually. They start at around 9:30, 10, and it goes on till wee hours in the early morning at 5 o'clock. But no Pichukunti artist is performing Palnadu Yuddham or Kuntimalla Reddy Katha today in this context. The great folk epics of epic of Palnadu and epic of this Babul Yuddham, they are no more. They are no more in the tradition. They are fixed. You can read them in the texts which are printed or in archives. This is the fate of the great folk epics. Why they are not sustaining, why they are not continuing in live tradition, in folk tradition. The reason is they are not associated to rituals and they are not patronized by a big social group. You may as caste or you may say tribe. This is the reason of the existence of, this is the reason why certain epic traditions are existing and why certain epic traditions are disappearing. I will give one example. The great folklorist of Finland, Elias, the Luri Hanko. Luri Hanko, he did the great work on the Finnish national epic, that is Kalevala. And even I saw it in Finland also. I was there for some time. And the Kalevala epic was performed by rune singers in Finland. But what happened there, no rune singer was there in today, even in 20 years, 25 years ago also, 30 years ago also, long back, rune singers are totally disappeared. They are no more. And no performance tradition is there to perform the national epic Kalevala in Finland. Then he tried how to understand that there was a text of Kalevala, the great epic Kalevala, and in many places you could not understand what is the meaning of certain verses, certain certain lines. And he tried to get help from some other scholars also, that some of them suggested him that unless you know the performance tradition of that particular epic, how it is performed, how it is pronounced in that particular live context. If you come across to know that the performance context situation, then only you can understand totally understand the that epic tradition, that epic. Then they suggested that you go to India. In India, the performance. Excuse me. There is some disturbance. Okay, and some of them suggested Luri Hanko to go to India, and in India many epic traditions are very live. In oral traditions, many epics are very much vibrant. You can see the live epic in performance, and you can understand that epic tradition in a performance context. That may help you to understand the Kalevala. Then he came to Karnataka, and he worked for many years. And Professor Haridas Bhatt, Professor Vivek Rai, Professor Chinnappa Gowda, and some other scholars, they helped the Luri Hanko, and they brought out in India, first time in India, a great epic was totally documented, totally transcribed, totally translated into English, and that went on in the length of Odyssey or in the length of this great epics of Iliad and so on. I'll show you that book. It will be very exciting. That these are the 3 volumes. These are the 3 volumes of the Siri epic of Kannada. This is Gopal Naika. This is the analysis of Siri epic, and this is at least 500 pages. 500 pages of analysis is there on the Siri epic, and these two volumes are the Siri epic text and transcription and translation of the Siri epic into English, and how they documented the entire Siri epic narrated by Gopal Naika, and they transcribed and then they translated into English. And even today the Siri epic tradition is alive, because Siri epic tradition is associated to many rituals. The same is the case of Koti Chennaya epic. The Brenda Beck worked on it, Peter Klaas worked on it. Peter Klaas also worked on this Siri epic. So Siri epic is very wide, and my friend, my former colleague M.N. Venkatesh, he worked on the epic of tradition of Mailarlinga, and that is also very much alive, and because that is also associated to a ritual. In the similar way, many epic traditions in Telugu are still very much alive. I'll give some examples. And then there is one caste, and there is another kind of social function. Another kind of social function is there. That social function helping the continuation of performance tradition, the continuation of epic tradition. That is, it is an epic support is needed to a social community. That is why some of the epics are continuing. I'll tell you one example, that the caste Mudirajus have one performance group as their dependent caste. That is Kaki Padigalavaru. Kaki Padigalavaru is the dependent performance tradition to Mudiraju or Telaga, Telugu, and some other subcastes. They perform Mahabharata. Total Mahabharata in oral tradition. Even today it is there. Even today Mahabharata, the epic Mahabharata is there in oral tradition. And in Mahabharata in oral tradition is there in many Indian languages. The Mahabharata is narrated in Pandwani in Madhya Pradesh. Tijan Bhai is famous for narrating Mahabharata in the Pandwani art form. The entire Mahabharata is in oral tradition. And there is a caste in Telangana that is called Pandavulavaru or Totivaru. Toti is associated to Naikpod, and the Pandavulavaru is associated to, the Pandavulavaru do not have their Skaral narrative. They have a performance tradition with Kinnara and Madila. The name of the group itself is Pandavulavaru. They perform Mahabharata, entire Mahabharata in oral tradition. We do not know whether that Mahabharata is alive. Mahabharata is in oral tradition. It is there. It is there in the oral tradition in Telugu also. But the Mahabharata to this Mudiraju, the Mahabharata to Nayakapod, it's not only an epic. It is their origin narrative. It is their caste myth. It is the myth of the origin of that particular tribe. So the dependent caste, the dependent performers go to their patrons at least once in a year. At least once in a year, and they perform the Mahabharata for them. So that the Mahabharata in oral tradition is also very, very much alive. Then, what is the reason? How the Mahabharata is linked to one particular community, one particular caste? Why it is formed as a origin narrative to a particular community, to a caste? I'll tell you that Mudiraju means the name of the caste. How it is derived? The question is how the name of the caste is derived, that Mudi is old age, Raju is king. This is the folk etymology. According to the folk etymology, they say that Mudir Raju is the king who received the Mudimi, that means old age, on him. Actually, he is young, but he invited old age at the young age from his father, from Ayati. So Ayati was cursed to become a very old man. Then he invited all of his 100 sons, but nobody was ready to take his. There was a relaxation to the curse that if somebody is ready to give their youth and take the old age, then you will get back your youth. That was the relaxation and the curse. Then he invited all of his sons and asked them to give their youth and take his old age. But nobody was not ready. Nobody was not ready. And finally, one son, he come forward to give his youth to his father and take the old age from his father. Then the king, he become the next person to take the kingdom from his father. He got that right. The father has given the right to his son, who has given him the youth, who has given his young age. Then this king who has invited Mudimi, he become the Mudiraju. And they say that he is the originator of the caste Mudiraju. That's why they want to say that the Mudiraju community directly descending from the clan of Mahabharata, the heroes of Mahabharata. They claim that they are the Chandravamsa Kshatriyas. Actually, they are the Chandravamsa Kshatriyas. By claiming this, they get a sanctity to their caste. They get a kind of identity to their caste. So the social function of this epic is establishing a social status to a particular community, to a particular caste. So this is the social function of this epic Mahabharata in oral tradition. So what is the social function of this epic is this. Because of this social function, it is sustaining. Because of this social function, it is existing. Still, it is existing. So the ritual association, apart from the ritual association, this kind of social association to a particular community, to a particular caste, to a particular tribe, and their social need, that is the factor for the existence and continuation of a particular one caste. And there are many such other kind of this kind of epics are there. Caste epics are there. Caste myths, you may call it caste myth or epic. So some caste myths are very long epics. Some caste myths are very shorter. But the social function of all these myths, all these around 60 to 70 kind of origin narratives, 60 to 70 various kinds of these caste epics, they are continuing at least once in a year, twice in a year, or once in 2 years. They are being performed in a particular performance tradition because they have a social function. I would remember one important aspect to all the Dravidians. Here many scholars are there from Dravidian community. At least 73 participants are participating in this webinar. And you may remember, you are remembering that on very adjacent to Dravidian University campus, there is one village that is called Yamanuru. That's called Yamanuru. In Yamanuru, the Mahabharata tradition is there. It is continuing. The Mahabharata tradition is continuing in Yamanuru. Once in a year, there is 11 days to 18 days function is there. In this 11 days to 18 days function, in sometimes it may happen depending upon the financial burden that has to take by the community. In many places within Chittoor district, the Mahabharata festival goes on 11 days to 18 days. So within this 11 days to 18 days, the entire Mahabharata is performed in oral tradition. Why this epic tradition is there in the performance tradition, and why this epic is continuing? Why? Because they feel that the goddess Draupadi is their daughter, and they are the Agnikula Kshatriyas. This is the goddess belongs. The goddess is herself is the daughter of this particular community, and they worship the Draupadi, the goddess Draupadi, with ardent kind of association. So the Mahabharata is continuing every year, and it is being performed. It is brought alive. Actually, it is not at all. You cannot confine to it as a performance. It is brought alive and reenacted alive. Bakasuravada, Uttaragograhanamu, Arjuna Tapassu, and Duryodhana Vadha, all these are reenacted in that particular village. Because it is associated to your community, and the community is patronizing the goddess, worshipping the goddess, patronizing the epic. That's why it is there in the oral tradition, and it's very strong in oral tradition. And the same is the case in Tamil Nadu also. So the reason for existence and continuation of an epic is its social function. So the difference between the epic in Western countries, in European countries, in India, we have to understand this the difference. If you take Greek mythology, and all the Greek myths are not in performance tradition. They are confined to texts, they are confined to books, they are confined to shelves. But in India, epics of Mahabharata, epic of Ramayana, epic of Ellamma, epic of Mallanna, many epics are part of day-to-day life. In any Telugu family, Dharmaraju may be referred, Sita may be referred, Bhima may be referred, Arjuna may be referred many times in a day. Many times, many families, they may say that Setamori Kashtalu. Setamori Kashtalu means the tragedy of Sita, and Rama, Ravana, and Vibhishana. Many characters are referred every day in day-to-day life. So why the cement is called Bhima cement? Why it is called Bhima cement? Bhima is referred. So the characters of Mahabharata, the belief system of which is there in the Mahabharata, which is there in the Ramayana, and the proverb is referred in many families in day-to-day life. They are part of the life. So the epics of many goddesses have become day-to-day life. I think it is 350, and it goes on. My argument goes on for a long time, and here I would like to conclude by telling some more aspects of this oral tradition. That there the epics are there confined to texts and not there in the day-to-day life. And no performance tradition is there. I'll show you one that is the epic of the Saramaka. This is the two evenings in Saramaka, and the epic songs are performed after burial in that particular tribe in Suriname, and these are Richard Price and Sally Price. They worked on this Saramaka village for 25 years. after working 25 years, they published this epic, the great work, their research work, and excellent kind of findings. They came out with findings. But still now in European countries you can't find any performance tradition of an epic. But in India, hundreds of performance traditions are still alive, and hundreds of folk narratives are still alive. And to my mind, in Telugu itself, only Oggu Katha tradition, it has 25 to 40 long epics they can narrate. Only one epic, Mallanna Katha, it came to 1600 full length pages, and it is lengthier than the Mahabharata in Telugu that is there, written by Kavitraya. It is bigger than Kavitraya Mahabharata. That is only one epic. But if you could collect all the 40 epics which are there from only Oggu Katha tradition, they go on into a big library itself. One Balanagamma Katha, it was performed for 25 hours, 27 hours. And the Yellamma Katha, I got one collection, it is 24 hours. And in similar way, the literature which is the epic literature which is available in oral tradition in Telugu, it is 100 times voluminous, 100 times bigger than that is there in the written tradition. Fortunately, in India, very long folk epics in many languages, in Kannada, in Tamil, in Malayalam, in Telugu, they are alive, and one has to document all these epics for the posterity. And my appeal is, the Department of Folklore in entire India, only 12 folklore departments are there, and the governments are there, academies are there. We have to concentrate on how much time we need to collect whatever possible for us, for the governments to document and to record them at least. Let us concentrate on the epic tradition which are shortly going to extinct. Then some of the epic tradition, they will continue even after 100 years or 200 years. That may be there. So with these concluding remarks, I would like to say that the scholars must be able to find out the reasons why certain epics traditions are continuing and why certain epics are being extinct. So what is the role of function, social function, ritual function, in the sustenance and in the continuation of epic traditions? That's very important. And we can make some comparison between epic traditions of other countries and here. And once again, I would like to express my thanks to the Dravidian community. I'm very happy that it is a homecoming to me, into the Dravidian University. I have been continuing my work in oral epics and particularly on some performance traditions. In recent times, I have been concentrating on the Jamba Puranam and other epics which are there in the dependent castes of Madiga community, particularly in Telangana districts. Till now, we have completed the fieldwork in 6 districts, and 4 more districts are to be completed. So once again, let us meet again, and I express my thanks to Professor Jayalalitha Garu, and I think I could not find Professor Sharada here in the list, and I'm happy that 72 participants are there joined in this webinar, and may not be possible even in a live seminar, in a physical seminar. Also, I should say that it is virtual, but that is physical. Once again, I express my thanks to my friend Durga Praveen, Dr. Professor Durga Praveen and Jayalalitha, and I just had a glance of my former colleague Professor M.N. Venkatesh also, and once again, namaskara.
Sir, it's a wonderful session. You can continue also, no problem, sir. Madam is also here, sir. Sharda Madam is there. Koneti Sharda.
I saw Professor my Rajendra Prasad also. He's there. He's visible. Hello, how are you? Okay. So Sharda garu unnaru ikkada kanpadaru. Namaskaram andi. Namaskaram. So there can be some interaction, and I can take some questions.
ಯಾರಿಗಾದ್ರೂ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳಿದ್ರೆ ಕೇಳಬಹುದು. ತೆಲುಗಿನ ಮಹಾಕಾವ್ಯಗಳನ್ನ ಕುರಿತು, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ತೆಲುಗಿನ ಮಹಾಕಾವ್ಯಗಳು ಮತ್ತೆ ಮಹಾಕಾವ್ಯಗಳು ಯಾಕೆ ಅದು ಇನ್ನು ಜೀವಂತವಾಗಿ ಉಳಿತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ. ಫೋಕ್ಲೋರ್ ಇಸ್ ಎ ಲೈವ್ಲಿ ಫಾಸಿಲ್ ವಿಚ್ ರೆಫ್ಯೂಸಸ್ ಟು ಡೈ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಆದ್ರೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರಕಾರಗಳಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಅದು ಅನ್ವಯ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ನೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಇವತ್ತು ಸುಬ್ಬಾಚಾರಿ ಸರ್ ಅವರು ಕೊಟ್ಟಂತಹ ವಿಚಾರ ಸಂಕಿರಣ ಬಹಳ ಅಮೂಲ್ಯವಾದಂತಹ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನು ಒದಗಿಸ್ತು. ಯಾವಾಗ ಒಂದು ಜಾನಪದ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದು ಅದು ಟೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ನ ರೂಪಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೋ ಆಗ, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಓರಲ್ ಟ್ರೆಡಿಷನ್ ಅನ್ನ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಟೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ನ ರೂಪಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಅದರ ಜೀವಂತಿಕೆಯನ್ನ ಅದು ಕಳ್ಕೊಂಡ್ ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಸರ್ ಅವರ ಸೆಮಿನಾರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬಹಳ ವಿಶಿಷ್ಟವಾಗಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೈನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. 1960 ಮತ್ತೆ 70 ಕಾಲಘಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಬೊಬ್ಬಿಲಿ ಯುದ್ಧದ ಕಥೆಯನ್ನ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದನ್ನ ಅವ್ರು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಬೊಬ್ಬಿಲಿ ಹೀರೋ ಕಥೆಯನ್ನ ಪ್ರಚಾರ ಮಾಡುವಂತವ್ರು, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಓರಲ್ ಟ್ರೆಡಿಷನ್ ಮೂಲಕ ಪ್ರಚಾರ ಮಾಡುವಂತವ್ರು ಬಹಳ ಕೆಲವೇ ಮಂದಿ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ನಾವು ನೆನಪಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕು. ಯಾಕೆಂದ್ರೆ ಯಾವತ್ತೂ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಯಾವುದೇ ಜನಪದ ಮಹಾಕಾವ್ಯಗಳಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಕನ್ನಡದ ಜನಪದ ಮಹಾಕಾವ್ಯ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ತಮಿಳಿನ ಜನಪದ ಮಹಾಕಾವ್ಯ ಇರೋ, ಈಗ ಮಲೆ ಮಹದೇಶ್ವರ, ಜಂಜಪ್ಪ, ಮಂಟೇಸ್ವಾಮಿ ಇದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ನೋಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಈ ಮಹಾಕಾವ್ಯಗಳೆಲ್ಲವೂ ಕೂಡ ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಆಚರಣೆಯ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಅದು ತನ್ನನ್ನ ತಾನು ತಳುಕು ಹಾಕಿಕೊಂಡಿದ್ರೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಅದು ಜೀವಂತವಾಗಿ ಉಳಿಯೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಸರ್ ಅವರು ತೆಲುಗಿನ ಮಹಾಕಾವ್ಯಗಳನ್ನ ಉದಾಹರಣೆಯಾಗಿಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಯಾವಾಗ ಅದು ರಿಚುವಲ್ ಜೊತೆ ಸೇರೋದಿಲ್ವೋ ಆಗ ಅದು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಬಳಕೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಉಳಿಯೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಕಾಲಾನುಕ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ಬೆಳೆಯಾಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಈಗ ಅವರೇ ಸಹ ಹೇಳಿದಾಗೆ ಹಿಂದೂವಿನವನು ಎಪಿಕ್ ಆಫ್ ಕಲ್ನಾಡು ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಟೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ನ ರೂಪದಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾನೆ, ಆದ್ರೆ ಅದನ್ನ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ನ ರೂಪದಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ಟಿಲ್ಲ. ಜಾನಪದಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾವತ್ತೂ ಕೂಡ ಕೆಲವು ಪ್ರದರ್ಶನ ಕಲೆಗಳಿಗೆ, ಪರ್ಫಾರ್ಮೆನ್ಸ್ ಥಿಯರಿಗೆ ಆಡಿಯೋ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಕೂಡ ಬಹಳ ಮುಖ್ಯ ಆಗತ್ತೆ. ಆಗ ಆ ರೀತಿಯಾದಂತಹ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಆದ್ರೆ ಕಾರಂಪುಡಿ ಎನ್ನುವಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಊರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಪಲ್ನಾಡು ಯುದ್ಧ ನಡೀತೋ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಒಂದು ದೇವಸ್ಥಾನ ಇದ್ದು ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೀರೋಗಳನ್ನ, ಪಲ್ನಾಡು ಯುದ್ಧದಲ್ಲಿ ಭಾಗವಹಿಸಿದ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೀರೋಗಳನ್ನ ಮತ್ತೆ ಅವರ ಆಯುಧಗಳನ್ನ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಬಹುದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು. 5 ದಿನ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆಚರಣೆ ನಡೆಯೋದನ್ನ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ವಿಶಿಷ್ಟವಾದಂತಹ ಜನಾಂಗದ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಅಥವಾ ಒಂದು ವಿಶಿಷ್ಟವಾದಂತಹ ಆಚರಣೆಯ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಒಂದು ಮಹಾಕಾವ್ಯ ಸಂಬಂಧವನ್ನ ಇಟ್ಟುಕೊಂಡಾಗ ಮಾತ್ರ ಅದು ಉಳಿಯುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ. ಸರ್ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ವಿಷಯವನ್ನ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು, ಇಂತಹ ದೀರ್ಘಕಾವ್ಯದ ಮಹಾಕಾವ್ಯಗಳು ಕೇವಲ ಅರ್ಧ ಗಂಟೆಗಳಲ್ಲಿ 10 ನಿಮಿಷಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತ್ರ ಪರ್ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಅದು ಫುಲ್ ಲೆಂತ್ ಆಗಿ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು. ಫುಲ್ ಲೆಂತ್ ಆಗಿ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಆಗದೆ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ಮುಂದಿನ ತಲೆಮಾರಿಗೆ ಆ ಒಂದು ಮಹಾಕಾವ್ಯದ ಸೊಬಗನ್ನ ನಾವು ಪರಿಚಯಿಸೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಮತ್ತೆ ಅವರ ಹಳ್ಳಿಯಲ್ಲಿ 9 ದಿನ ಪರ್ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಮಾಡೋದನ್ನ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು. ಅದು ಬಹಳ ನಿಜಕ್ಕೂ ಒಂದು ಸಂತೋಷದಾಯಕವಾದಂತಹ ವಿಚಾರ. ಮತ್ತೆ ಆಚರಣೆಯ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಸಂಬಂಧ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದ್ರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ದೊಡ್ಡ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಕ್ಯಾಸ್ಟ್ ಗಳ ಜೊತೆಗೆ, ಜಾತಿಗಳ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಸಂಬಂಧವನ್ನ ಇಟ್ಟುಕೊಂಡಾಗ ಆ ಮಹಾಕಾವ್ಯಗಳು ಜೀವಂತವಾಗಿ ಬಳಕೆಯಲ್ಲಿ, ಪ್ರಚಾರದಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನುವಂತಹ ಒಂದು ವಿಷಯವನ್ನ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು. ಮತ್ತೆ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ, ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಸಂಗ್ರಹವಾಗಿ ಪ್ರಕಟವಾಗಿರುವಂತಹ ಜನಪದ ಮಹಾಕಾವ್ಯಗಳು ಬಹಳ ಕಡಿಮೆ. ಬೇಕಾದಷ್ಟು ಜನಪದ ಮಹಾಕಾವ್ಯಗಳಿದಾವೆ, ಬೇಕಾದಷ್ಟು ಮಹಾಕಾವ್ಯಗಳು ಸಂಗ್ರಹ ಕೂಡ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಆದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಹೊರಗಿನವರಿಗೆ ತಲುಪ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಕಾರಣ ಏನಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಲ್ಯಾಂಗ್ವೇಜ್ ನ ಕೊರತೆಯಿಂದಾಗಿ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ಭಾಷೆಗೆ ಅನುವಾದ ಆಗದೆ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಅದು ತಲುಪ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಈ ಸಂದರ್ಭವನ್ನ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಅವ್ರು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು, ಸಿರಿ ಪಾಡ್ದನವನ್ನ ಲೌರಿ ಹ್ಯಾಂಕೋ, ಅನೇಲಿ ಹ್ಯಾಂಕೋ, ವಿವೇಕ್ ರೈ ಮತ್ತೆ ಚಿನ್ನಪ್ಪ ಗೌಡ್ರು ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಸೇರಿ ಅದನ್ನ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದನ್ನ, ಮತ್ತೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಗೋಪಾಲ್ ನಾಯಕ್ ಅನ್ನೋರು ಅದನ್ನ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ನಮ್ಮ ಸುಬ್ಬಾಚಾರಿ ಸರ್ ಅವರು ಪ್ರಸ್ತಾಪವನ್ನ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಕೋಟಿ ಚೆನ್ನಯ್ಯ ಅನ್ನೋದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಪೀಟರ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡೋದನ್ನ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು. ಇದೇ ರೀತಿ ಹೇಗೆ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಜನಪದ ಮಹಾಕಾವ್ಯಗಳು ಆಚರಣೆ ಮತ್ತು ಜಾತಿಯ ಹಿನ್ನೆಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಜೀವಂತವಾಗಿದೆಯೋ ಹಾಗೆ ತೆಲುಗಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಜೀವಂತವಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಸಾಮಾಜಿಕ ಜನಾಂಗದ ಸಹಕಾರವಿದ್ರೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಆಚರಣೆಯ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ತಳುಕು ಹಾಕಿಕೊಂಡಿದ್ರೆ ಮಹಾಕಾವ್ಯ ಒಂದು ಜೀವಂತವಾಗಿ ಉಳಿಯಬಲ್ಲದು ಎನ್ನುವಂತಹ ವಿಶಿಷ್ಟವಾದ ಅಂಶವನ್ನ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಸುಬ್ಬಾಚಾರಿ ಸರ್ ಅವರು ಇವತ್ತು ನಮ್ಗೆ ತಿಳಿಸ್ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ತೆಲಂಗಾಣದ ಪಾಂಡವಲವಾರು ಅನ್ನುವಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಜನಾಂಗ ಇಡೀ ಮಹಾಭಾರತವನ್ನ ಮೌಖಿಕವಾಗಿ ಜೀವಂತವಾಗಿ ಇರಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ, ಮತ್ತೆ ಅದು ಅವರ ಕ್ಯಾಸ್ಟ್ ಮಿತ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಮಿತ್ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದು, ಎಪಿಕ್ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದು ಕುಲಪುರಾಣಗಳ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಸಂಬಂಧವನ್ನ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಾಗ ಅದು ಹೇಗೆ ಉಳ್ಕೊಂಡ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಕೊನೆಗೆ ವರ್ಷಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದ್ಸಲ ಆದ್ರೂ ಅವ್ರು ಹೇಗೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಪ್ರದರ್ಶನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು. ಮುದಿರಾಜು ಎನ್ನುವಂತ ಒಂದು ಎಪಿಕ್ ಪುರಾಣದ ಯಯಾತಿಯ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಸಂಬಂಧವನ್ನ ಕಲ್ಪಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ಳುವುದರ ಮೂಲಕ ಹೇಗೆ ಆ ಜನಾಂಗ ಮಹಾಭಾರತದ ಕಥೆಯೊಡನೆ ಸಂಬಂಧವನ್ನ ಕೊಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಮೌಖಿಕವಾಗಿ ಪ್ರಸಾರ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ, ಸಾಮಾಜಿಕವಾಗಿ ಸಂಬಂಧ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಆ ಮುದಿರಾಜು ಎನ್ನುವಂತಹ ಕಥೆ ಇನ್ನು ಎಪಿಕ್ ಮಹಾಕಾವ್ಯ ಜೀವಂತವಾಗಿ ಉಳ್ಕೊಂಡ್ ಬಂದಿದೆ ಎನ್ನುವಂತಹ ವಿಶಿಷ್ಟವಾದ ಅಂಶವನ್ನ ಇವತ್ತು ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಸುಬ್ಬಾಚಾರಿ ಸರ್ ಅವರು ನಮ್ಗೆ ತಿಳಿಸ್ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಮತ್ತೆ ಕ್ಯಾಸ್ಟ್ಗೂ ಎಪಿಕ್ಗೂ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಸಂಬಂಧ, ಅದು ಎಪಿಕ್ ಚಿಕ್ಕದಾಗಿರ್ಲಿ ದೊಡ್ಡದಾಗಿರ್ಲಿ ಅದನ್ನ ವರ್ಷಕ್ಕೊಮ್ಮೆ ಅಥವಾ 2 2 ವರ್ಷಕ್ಕೊಮ್ಮೆ ಆದ್ರೂ ಹೇಗೆ ಪ್ರದರ್ಶನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ, ನಮ್ಮ ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯದ ಹತ್ತಿರದಲ್ಲೇ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಯಾಮನೂರ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಮಹಾಭಾರತದ ಟ್ರೆಡಿಷನ್ ಅನ್ನ 11ರಿಂದ 18 ದಿನಗಳ ಕಾಲ ಹೇಗೆ ಜೀವಂತವಾಗಿ ಅದನ್ನ ನಡ್ಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬರ್ತಾರೆ ಎನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರು ನೆನಪಿಗೆ ತಂದುಕೊಟ್ರು. ಅದ್ ಮಾತ್ರ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಈ ಮಹಾಭಾರತ, ರಾಮಾಯಣ ಮೊದಲಾದಂತಹ ಮಹಾಕಾವ್ಯಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುವಂತಹ ಪಾತ್ರಗಳ ನಂಬಿಕೆಗಳು ನಮ್ಮ ದಿನನಿತ್ಯದ ಜೀವನದ ಭಾಗವಾಗಿ ಹೇಗೆ ಮಿಳಿತಗೊಂಡು ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಭೀಮಾ ಸಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ಉದಾಹರಣೆ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಬಹಳ ಅದ್ಭುತವಾಗಿ ಒಂದು ಉದಾಹರಣೆ ಮೂಲಕ ವಿವರಿಸಿದ್ರು. ಮತ್ತೆ ನೂರಾರು ಮಹಾಕಾವ್ಯಗಳು ಇವತ್ತಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಹೀಗೆ ಆಚರಣೆಯ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ತಳಕು ಹಾಕೊಂಡು ಜೀವಂತವಾಗಿರೋದನ್ನ ನಿರೂಪಿಸಿದ್ರು. ಮಲ್ಲಣ್ಣ ಕಥಾ ಮಹಾಭಾರತಕ್ಕಿಂತ ದೊಡ್ಡದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಅದು ಹೇಗೆ ಒಗ್ಗು ಕಥಾ ಪರಂಪರೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಚಾರ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು. ಲಿಖಿತವಾದ ಮಹಾಕಾವ್ಯಗಳಿಗಿಂತ ದೀರ್ಘವಾಗಿರುವಂತದ್ದು ಈ ಓರಲ್ ಟ್ರೆಡಿಷನ್ ಮೂಲಕ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಮಹಾಕಾವ್ಯಗಳು. ಅವುಗಳನ್ನ ದಾಖಲಿಸಿ ಇಡಬೇಕಾದಂತಹ ಅಗತ್ಯತೆಯನ್ನ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಸುಬ್ಬಾಚಾರಿ ಸರ್ ಅವರು ಇವತ್ತು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಒತ್ತಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇದು ಕೇವಲ ತೆಲುಗು ಮಹಾಕಾವ್ಯಗಳಿಗೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಿಸಿದ ವಿಷಯ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಎಲ್ಲಾ ದ್ರಾವಿಡದ ಎಲ್ಲ ಜನಪದ ಮಹಾಕಾವ್ಯಗಳಿಗೂ ಸಂಬಂಧಿಸಿದಂತಹ ವಿಷಯ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಜನಪದ ಮಹಾಕಾವ್ಯಗಳ ನಡುವಿನ ಈ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಅಂಶಗಳು ವಿನಿಮಯ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋ ಕಾರಣದಿಂದಾನೇ ನಾವು ದ್ರಾವಿಡ ಮಹಾಕಾವ್ಯಗಳನ್ನ ಕುರಿತು ಒಂದು ವೆಬಿನಾರ್ ಸರಣಿಯನ್ನ ಆಯೋಜಿಸಿದ್ವಿ. ಆ ವೆಬಿನಾರ್ನ ಸರಣಿಯ ಉದ್ದೇಶಕ್ಕೆ ತಕ್ಕ ಹಾಗೆ ಇವತ್ತು ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಸುಬ್ಬಾಚಾರಿ ಸರ್ ಅವರು ಹೇಗೆ ಜನಪದ ಮಹಾಕಾವ್ಯಗಳನ್ನ ಜೀವಂತವಾಗಿ ಇಟ್ಕೋಬಹುದು, ಮತ್ತೆ ಏಕೆ ಜೀವಂತವಾಗಿ ಉಳಿಯುತ್ತೆ, ಮತ್ತೆ ಯಾಕೆ ಜೀವಂತವಾಗಿ ಉಳಿಯಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ನೋ ಅಂಶವನ್ನ ಕೂಡ ಇವತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಗಮನಕ್ಕೆ ತಂದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ವಿಭಾಗದ ಪರವಾಗಿ, ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯದ ಪರವಾಗಿ ನಾನು ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಸುಬ್ಬಾಚಾರಿ ಸರ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕವಾದಂತಹ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನ ತಿಳಿಸ್ತೀನಿ. ಹಾಗೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಜನ ಇವತ್ತು ಈ ಒಂದು ವೆಬಿನಾರ್ನ ವಿಚಾರ ಸಂಕಿರಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಭಾಗಿಯಾಗಿ ಜ್ಞಾನವನ್ನ ಪಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ. ನಿಮಗೆ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟ ಹಾಗೆ ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರು ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳು ಅಥವಾ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂತೆ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳು, ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚುವರಿಯಾಗಿ ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರು ಉತ್ತರಗಳು ನಿಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿದ್ರೆ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಸಂವಾದದ ಮೂಲಕ ಪಾಲ್ಗೊಳ್ಳಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ನಾನು ಎಲ್ಲ ಭಾಗಿಗಳಲ್ಲೂ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀನಿ.
జయలలిత గారు నమస్కారం. మీరు అంతా ట్రాన్స్లేట్ చేశారు. యూ హ్యావ్ ట్రాన్స్లేటెడ్ ఇన్ అ బ్రీఫ్ వే ది మై ఎంటైర్ ప్రెజెంటేషన్ ఇన్ కన్నడ. థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్. అండ్ సో దట్ ది persons who cannot follow my English, you have made it available in Kannada. Thank you. Now there can be some questions.
Sir, namaste sir.
Jayalalitha, can I ask a question?
Excuse me.
Good afternoon, Professor Subbachari sir.
Namaskaram, Rajendra Prasad garu. Cheppandi.
Just a very small layman's doubt.
No, you are not a layman.
How do we differentiate between folk epics and the other epics? Mainstream epics.
Yes, sir. Folk epics are fundamentally.
Can we make this type of categorization? Folk epics and the mainstream epics.
It's not mainstream. It is a folk epics and epics in written tradition. Okay. So I would say that the folk epics are the mainstream epics, and the written epics which are there, even Mahabharata or Ramayana, at first they were in the oral tradition. Later they were recorded by some scholars into written tradition, so that we cannot decide which is the mainstream and which is not. But the thing is, the difference between folk epic and the epic is, folk epics are live in oral tradition, and the other epics which are there in Sanskritic and other traditions, they are written tradition. They are, I think, all written tradition epics are need not necessarily be derived from the oral tradition. Maybe some epics are there directly from the written tradition. Also, the fundamental basic difference between these folk epics and the other epics is, folk epics are created on the spot in oral tradition.
Okay, right. Okay, thank you.
Right, sir.
Thank you very much. And it was very lively presentation. It was a very lively presentation. Yes.
But that's why I did not read my paper.
Yeah, this is the right way.
This is the right way. Yes, sir.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah, sir. Right, sir. So, any other pointed questions?
Hello.
Yes, sir. Durga Praveen.
Yeah, please.
అవి కూడా మహాకావ్యాలని చెప్పచ్చా?
అవునండి, అవి ఇప్పుడు సమ్మక్క సారలమ్మ కథ,
మళ్ళీ సాసుల చిన్నమ్మ కథ సార్.
సాసుల చిన్నమ్మ కథ, వీటిని కూడా ఎపిక్స్ అని అంటాం మనం ఈ కేటగరైజేషన్ ప్రకారం. అయితే అవి వీర కథలు. మనం ఇంకొక ట్రెడిషన్ మనం ఇంకొక కేటగరైజేషన్ ఏం చెప్తున్నాం అంటే వీర కథలు అంటున్నాం. సమ్మక్క సారలమ్మ కథ అదొక వీర కథ. మనకి ఇప్పుడు పండగ సాయన్న కథ ఎట్లయితే వీర కథో, సైరా చిన్నపరెడ్డి అయితే ఎట్లయితే వీర కథో, ఇది కూడా అలాంటి వీర కథే అది. అలా కాకుండా నల్ల తంగాళ్ళ కథ కానీ, బాలనాగమ్మ కథ కానీ, లేకపోతే ఇవి పేరెంటాళ్ళ కథలు, పైడి తల్లి కథ కానీ, ఇవన్నీ కూడా పేరెంటాళ్ళ కథల కిందకి వస్తాయి. అంటే ఒక అన్యూజువల్ సంఘటనలో, సో ఐఎమ్ టెలింగ్ ఇట్ ఇన్ తెలుగు. ఐ థింక్ it may be difficult to follow difficult to some others, but actually these are heroic epics. చెప్పండి.
థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్.
అలాగే మణి గారు, యా ప్లీజ్.
హలో సార్, వినిపిస్తోందా?
వినపడుతుందండి, చెప్పండి చెప్పండి.
ఇప్పుడు గంగ భారతం ఉంది కదా, ఆ గంగ భారతంకిను ఆమెకి ఇంకొక సాసుల చిన్నమ్మ కథలో వచ్చే నరసింహస్వామి, అది కూడా ప్రస్తాపం చేస్తారు ఇక్కడ గంగ భారతంలో. అది ఎట్లా కనెక్షన్ ఇస్తారు? దానికి ఉండే సంబంధం ఏంటి?
పురా కథల్లో వేరే కథల ప్రస్తావన వస్తాయి.
అవునవును.
కానీ ఇక్కడ ఈ పర్టికులర్ కేసు విషయంలో నేను ఈ నరసింహస్వామి కథ ఇది వచ్చేదాన్ని నేను చదవలేదు. నేను చదివి ఉన్నట్టయితే పర్టికులర్ దాన్ని చెప్పగలిగి ఉండేవాడిని. కానీ ఒక లాంగ్ ఎపిక్ లో ఇంకా వేరే కొన్ని వచ్చే అటువంటి, ఇప్పుడు మల్లన్న కథ ఈజ్ ఎ వెరీ లాంగ్ ఎపిక్.
చెప్తారా అన్నమాట.
వన్ సెకండ్, అది విత్ ఇన్ ది మల్లన్న కథ, ఎల్లమ్మ కథ ఈజ్ ఆల్సో వన్ పార్ట్. In the similar case, in folk epics, in a long epic of a god or goddess, there may be some reference or a short version of an episode may be there in a short version of another kind of god or goddess in this long epic. That is possible. The same is the reason for this presence of the Narasimha Swami episode in that Ganga Puranam.
అవును, గంగ భారతంలో ఈ సాసుల చిన్నమ్మ కథలో మనకి నరసింహస్వామి చెప్తారు, ప్రస్తాపం తెస్తారు. అది సాసుల చిన్నమ్మ వాళ్ళ అన్న అని కూడా చెప్తారు. వెంకటరమణ స్వామి కూడా వాళ్ళ అన్న అని చెప్తారు.
ఇప్పుడు మహబూబ్ నగర్ లో కురుమూర్తి అని ఒక ఆయన ఉన్నాడు. ఈజ్ ఎ ఫోక్ వెర్షన్ ఆఫ్ లార్డ్ వెంకటేశ్వర. సో సేమ్ ఈస్ ద కేస్ ఆఫ్ ది లక్ష్మీదేవి కథ. ఇట్స్ ఎ ఫోక్ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ లక్ష్మీదేవి కథ ఈస్ దేర్. The folk versions are there for the other gods and goddesses also.
అదే సార్, విన్నాను నేను. ఇది దానికి ఎట్లా సంబంధం వస్తుంది అని, అంటే వీళ్ళు ఉపకథలుగా మాత్రంగా తీసుకుంటారని మనం అనుకోవచ్చా?
ఉండొచ్చు అవి పాసిబిలిటీస్ దేర్. ఇంకేదన్నా ఎస్ ప్రొఫెసర్ శారద గారు, would you like to raise any question?
సార్, గంగ భారతము కలెక్షన్ అయిందా సార్? అది
నాకు తెలిసి రామనాథం నాయుడు ఈజ్ వర్కింగ్ ఇన్ Karnataka Open University. I think he might have collected it. I remember he collected that one. He worked on some scholars worked on the Donakonda Ganga Jatara, and Ganga story of Ganga is part of the Katamaraj Kada also, and even in any Waggu Kada performance, they start with the recitation of the goddess Ganga, and I think in the Ganga Jatara, even the Patasri has collected some versions of the Ganga Jatara there, which happens in Tirupati. Yes, some scholars worked on this epic of the goddess Ganga.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
నేను శారదా సార్.
నమస్కారం అండి, చెప్పండి.
ఈ పల్లాంటి యుద్ధం జరిగింది కదా, అది కారంపూడినా కారంచేడునా సార్?
కారంపూడి అండి, కారంచేడు కాదు. కారంచేడు ప్రకాశం జిల్లాలో ఉంది, కారంపూడి గుంటూరు జిల్లాలో. కారంపూడి గుంటూరు జిల్లాలో ఉంది.
ఒక ఇది జరిగింది కదా సార్, అది కారం చెడు కదా?
ఆ యుద్ధం జరిగింది కారం, అది ఎస్సీ మీద అట్రాసిటీ జరిగింది కారం చెడు, దళిత్, అది వేరే అండి, అది వేరే.
మళ్ళీ ఒకటి శారద ఆట అన్నారు కదా సార్, అది ఏమి స్పెషాలిటీ సార్? అది
శారద కథ అని ఒక కథ ఉందండి. ఇప్పుడు మనకి ఈ రోజున కనిపించే బొబ్బిలి అది బుర్ర కథకి అది ప్రొటోటైప్. అది శారద కాళ్ళు అనేటటువంటి ఒక కులం ఉన్నది, వాళ్ళు జంగాలు యాక్చువల్ గా. ఈ శారద కాళ్ళు అనే వాళ్ళు ముగ్గురు ఉంటారు. ఒక అతను శారద అనేటటువంటి తంత్రి వాద్యాన్ని వాయిస్తూ కథ చెప్తుంటాడు. ఇద్దరు ఆడవాళ్ళు అటొక పక్క ఇటుపక్క ఒక పక్క వంతలు వాయిస్తూ ఉంటారు. ఇటీవలే నేను శారద కథ మీద IGNC వాళ్ళకి ఒక ప్రజెంటేషన్ ఇచ్చారు, వెబినార్ ఇచ్చాను. దాంట్లో వాళ్ళిద్దరు కూడా భార్యలు అయి ఉంటారు. సాధారణంగా చాలా మంది శారద కళ్ళకి ఇద్దరు భార్యలు ఉంటారు. ఆ ఇద్దరు భార్యలు వంతలుగానే ఉంటారు పక్కన. వాళ్ళు చాలా ఎపిక్స్ చెప్తారు. ఇప్పటికి కూడా కొన్ని శారద కథ ఫ్యామిలీస్ పెర్ఫార్మెన్స్ చేసే వాళ్ళు ఉన్నారు. ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్ పేరు శారద కాబట్టి శారద కథ అంటారు. నిజానికి అది వాళ్ళు జంగాల వాళ్ళు ఈ బుర్రకథ, వాళ్ళకి ఇది బుర్రకథ చెప్తాడు. ఈ బుర్రకథనే తీసుకొని నాజరు దాన్ని డెవలప్ చేసి సెమీ క్లాసికల్ గా దాన్ని మార్చాడు. సార్ ఇప్పుడు కూడా బాలనాగమ్మ కథ, కాంబోజరాజు కథ, దేశింగరాజు కథ, మాందాత కథ, ఇవన్నీ కూడా శారద కథ పెర్ఫార్మెన్స్ స్టేషన్ లో చాలా ఫేమస్. ఇప్పటికీ కూడా తెలంగాణ పల్లెల్లో బాలనాగమ్మ కథ వినడానికి చాలా ఇంట్రెస్ట్ చూపిస్తారు. బాలనాగమ్మ కథ చాలా పాపులర్. శారద కథలో వింటే బాలనాగమ్మ కథ చాలా బాగుంటుంది. అదే
బహుశా ఇది తెలుగు ప్రాంతంలో మాత్రమే ఉందనుకుంటాను సార్. కర్ణాటకలో ఈ పేరు ఇప్పుడు వినలేదు నేను.
కర్ణాటకలో అంటే రాయలసీమలో కొన్ని ప్రాంతాల్లో జంగం కథ అనేటటువంటిది ఇట్లాంటిది ఉన్నది. అట్లాగే శ్రీకాకుళం జిల్లాలో అటు కూడా ఉన్నది. మరి కర్ణాటకలో మరి శారద కథ ఉందో లేదో నాకు తెలియదు, కానీ బుర్ర కథ పెర్ఫార్మెన్స్ మాత్రం చాలా ఫేమస్. ఇప్పుడు అల్లూరి సీతారామరాజు ఈవెంట్ ఏర్పడింది మనకి 1920 ప్రాంతాల్లో. 1918, 19 నుంచి 1922లో ఆయన బ్రిటిష్ వాళ్ళు ఆయన చంపేసేసారు. అయితే అల్లూరి సీతారామరాజు కథ ఒక ఎపిక్ గా మారింది. అల్లూరి సీతారామరాజు కథని బుర్ర కథలో ప్రదర్శించారు, నాటకంగా వేశారు, సినిమాగా తీశారు. అయితే నిన్న మన కళ్ళ ముందు మన తల్లిదండ్రుల చూసినటువంటి అల్లూరి సీతారామరాజు ఈవెంట్ అన్నది ఎపిక్ అయింది. ఎందుకైందంటే హీరో కాబట్టి, ఆయన ఒక ఎగ్జాంపులర్ యాక్టివిటీ చేసినాడు కాబట్టి ఆయన జీవిత చరిత్ర ఎపిక్ అయింది. ఆ ఎపిక్ అనేది ఒక పెర్ఫార్మెన్స్ ట్రెడిషన్ లో వచ్చింది. మీకు అల్లూరి సీతారామరాజు బుర్ర కథ, మీకు నాజర్ బుర్ర కథ అల్లూరి సీతారామరాజు చెబుతుంటే కొన్ని వేల మంది కదలకుండా లేవకుండా విని ఒక రాత్రి అంతా అల్లూరి సీతారామరాజు బుర్ర కథ విన్న రోజులు ఉన్నాయి. అది మీకు ఈ అల్లూరి సీతారామరాజు బుర్ర కథ చెప్పేవాళ్ళు ఇప్పటికీ కూడా మనకి అక్కడక్కడ ఉన్నారు. ఒక జీవిత చరిత్ర, ఒక కథ ఎపిక్ గా ఎందుకు మారుతుందంటే ఇదే కారణం. దాంట్లో ఎగ్జాంపులర్ యాక్టివిటీస్ ఉండటం అనేది, ఒక హీరో వర్షిప్ ఉండటం అనేది దానికి చాలా అవసరం. అది మనకి ఈ పెర్ఫార్మెన్స్ ట్రెడిషన్, ఈ బుర్ర కథ, దీనికి ప్రోటోటైప్ ఈ శారద కథే మీకు చెప్పేది. అదండి.
అదే అంటే మోడర్న్ దీనికి 18వ శతమానంలో కూడా సీతారామరాజు కథ సార్ జనపద మహాకావ్యంగా మనం భావించి దాన్ని చదువుతున్నామంటే,
అవునండి,
మహాకావ్య లక్షణాలని కొంచెం ఎక్స్టెండ్ చేయాల్సి ఉంటుంది అన్నమాట.
అవునండి, అవును. అదే మనం మొట్టమొదటి ఈ ఉపన్యాసం ప్రారంభంలోనే ఎపిక్ అనే కేటగిరీకి దాని డెఫినేషన్స్ ఉన్నటువంటి సమస్య గురించి మాట్లాడుకున్నాము. ఇండియన్ కేటగిరీస్ లో మనం మాట్లాడేటప్పుడు ఎపిక్ అన్న దాన్ని మహాకావ్యాన్ని ట్రాన్స్లేట్ చేయడం అది కుదరదు, తప్పది. మహాకావ్యానికి సర్గబంధో మహాకావ్యం అని చెప్పి మహాకావ్య లక్షణాలు వేరే ఉన్నాయి, ఎపిక్ లక్షణాలు వేరే ఉన్నాయి, మహాకావ్య లక్షణాలు వేరే ఉన్నాయి. కాబట్టి దీనికి మనకి కథ అనే ఒకటే మాట ఉందండి. కథ, అగ్ని పురాణంలో కథ, ఖండ కథ, పరికథ, ఉపకథ, కథాలిక అనేటటువంటి, ఆఖ్యాయిక అనేటటువంటి వేరియస్ కేటగిరీస్ ని అందులో స్పష్టంగా చెప్పారు. దండి కావ్యాదర్శంలో కూడా వీటి ప్రస్తావన ఉన్నది. అక్కడ వాళ్ళు ఏం చెప్తున్నారంటే, కథ అనే మాట మనకి, మన పురాణాన్ని కథ అని అంటాం, ఇతిహాసాన్ని కథ అంటాము, మామూలు వండర్ టేల్ ని కథ అంటాము, నీతి కథల్ని కథ అంటాము. అంటే కథ అన్నది చాలా ప్రక్రియలకు ఒక కామన్ టర్మ్ అయింది. అదేవిధంగా ఎపిక్ అన్నది కూడా చాలా రకాల ప్రక్రియలకు అది ఒక కామన్ టర్మ్ అవుతుంది. కానీ ఇండియన్ ట్రెడిషన్ లో, ఇండియన్ కాంటెక్స్ట్ లో మనకి కావ్యం అంటే, మహాకావ్యం అంటే వేరే అర్థం ఉన్నది. మనుచరిత్ర మనకి ప్రబంధము, కావ్యం ఎట్ ఏ టైం. కాబట్టి దాన్ని ఇతిహాసం అన్నప్పుడు ఎపిక్ అంటే దాంతో ఇబ్బంది వస్తుంది మనకి. అందువల్ల మనం ఈ ప్రక్రియల పేర్లు పెట్టేటప్పుడు కన్నడంలో మహాకావ్యం అంటున్నారు, హిందీలో కూడా మహాకావ్యం అంటున్నారు ఎపిక్ ని. కానీ మహాకావ్యం అన్నదానికి మనకి వేరే కాంటెక్స్ట్ ఉన్నది. ఎపిక్ ని మహాకావ్యం అని చెప్పలేము. దీని గురించి ఈ సమస్యను మనం ముందే చర్చించాము. తర్వాత మనం ఎగ్జిస్టెన్స్ ఫంక్షన్ దీంట్లోకి వచ్చాము. ఇది ముందు కూడా ఒక పేపర్ గా రాసి ఎవరైనా దీని గురించి చాలా లోతుగా చర్చ చేయడానికి అవకాశం ఉందండి.
అదే జనపద మహాకావ్యం అన్నప్పుడు అల్లూరి సీతారామరాజుది పరపారంలో చెప్పినారన్నంత మాత్రాన అది జనపద మహాకావ్యం అవ్వచ్చా అని నా ప్రశ్న సార్.
అవ్వచ్చండి, ఎందుకంటే మనకి ఓరల్ ట్రెడిషన్ లో ఉంది. ఒక్కొక్కళ్ళు ఒక్కొక్క టెక్స్ట్ ని క్రియేట్ చేస్తున్నారు, ఒక్కొక్కళ్ళు ఒక్కొక్క వెర్షన్ ని క్రియేట్ చేస్తున్నారు. తర్వాత ముఖ్యంగా జానపదత్వం ఎక్కడొచ్చిందంటే సీతారామరాజును ఒక దేవుడిగా భావిస్తున్నారు వాళ్ళు. అసలు అందులో నేను ఆ సీతారామరాజు తిరిగిన ఊళ్ళో ఆ ప్రాంతాలన్నీ తిరిగి వచ్చాను, వాళ్ళతో మాట్లాడాను కూడా, పోయే వాళ్ళతోటి. వాళ్ళు ఏమంటారంటే సీతారామరాజు గారు పులి మీద సవారీ చేసేవాడు, కాళికాదేవిని కొలిచేవాడు, ఆయనకు మహాత్మ్యాలు ఉన్నాయి, ఇవన్నీ క్రియేట్ చేశారు. ఇదంతా జానపదత్వమే. అల్లూరి సీతారామరాజు పులి మీద తిరగలేదు, పూజలు ఆయన దేవతను నమ్మాడేమో కానీ ఆయన దగ్గర మహిమలు మహాత్మ్యాలు లేవు. మహిమలు మహాత్మ్యాలు ఉంటే ఆయన చెట్టు కట్టేసి కాల్చి చంపరు కదా. అందుకని జానపదత్వం ఎక్కడ వచ్చిందంటే ఎపిక్ క్వాలిటీస్, ఫోక్ నెరేటివ్ క్వాలిటీస్ ఎక్కడ వచ్చిందంటే ఈ కల్పనలోనే వచ్చింది. ఈ కల్పన అన్నది ప్రధాన గుణం. అది సరే, మీడియం అన్నది ఓరల్ ట్రెడిషన్ కావడం అన్నది ఒక క్వాలిటీ, జానపదానికి ఒక క్వాలిటీ మాత్రమే. అది ఓరల్ ట్రెడిషన్ లో ఉన్నాయి, అన్ని జానపదం కావు కదా.
అదే నా ప్రశ్నే సార్, అదే వచ్చింది.
ఓరల్ ట్రెడిషన్ లో ఉన్నాయని జానపదం కావు. కానీ అల్లూరి సీతారామరాజు గారు జానపదం ఎందుకైందంటే ఈ కారణాల వల్ల అయింది. అంటే జానపద నమ్మకాల వ్యవస్థలో ఉండేటట్టు వింటివి అల్లూరి సీతారామరాజు మీద ఆరోపించబడ్డాయి కాబట్టి అది జానపద కథ అయింది.
నాకు అందుకే ఓరల్ ట్రెడిషన్ లో ఉండే అన్ని కూడా మహాకావ్యాలు అయిపోతాయా అని డౌట్ వచ్చింది.
కావు అదే.
థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్, చాలా బాగా.
నమస్తే అండి. ఇంకేమైనా క్వశ్చన్స్ ఉంటే అడగండి, క్వశ్చన్స్ లేకపోతే మనం కంక్లూడ్ చేయొచ్చు. మీ ఆర్గనైజర్స్ మీ ఫార్మాలిటీస్ ఫాలో కావచ్చు.
ಜಯಲಲಿತಾ ఆయన ಇದು ವೋಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಡಿ, ಯಾರು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳು ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ.
ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಧನ್ಯವಾದ. ದ್ರಾವಿಡ ಮಹಾಕಾವ್ಯಗಳ 5 ಸರಣಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇವತ್ತು 2ನೇ ಸರಣಿಯನ್ನ ನಾವು ಮುಗಿಸಿದೀವಿ. ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಭಾಷೆಯ ದ್ರಾವಿಡ ಜಾನಪದಗಳಲ್ಲೂ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳು, ಸಮಾನತೆಗಳು, ವೈವಿಧ್ಯತೆಗಳು ಇವುಗಳನ್ನ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಈ ವಿಚಾರ ಸಂಕಿರಣ ನೆರವಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಭಾವಿಸಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಈ ವಿಚಾರ ಸಂಕಿರಣಕ್ಕೆ ಸಹಾಯವನ್ನ ಅಥವಾ ಸಹಕಾರವನ್ನ ಒದಗಿಸಿದಂತಹ ದ್ರಾವಿಡ ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯದ ಆಡಳಿತ ವರ್ಗದವರಿಗೆ, ಹಾಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ವಿಭಾಗದ ಹಿರಿಯ ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸಕರಾದಂತಹ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಕೆ ಶಾರದಾ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ, ಹಾಗೂ ನಮ್ಮ ವಿಭಾಗದ ಮುಖ್ಯಸ್ಥರಾಗಿರುವಂತಹ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ MS ದುರ್ಗಾ ಪ್ರವೀಣ್ ಸರ್ ಅವರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ನಾನು ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನು ಅರ್ಪಿಸ್ತೀನಿ. ಹಾಗೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಜನ ಇವತ್ತು ಈ ವಿಚಾರ ಸಂಕಿರಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಭಾಗವಹಿಸಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಸಂವಾದಗಳಿಗೆ ಕೂಡ ನೀವು ತೊಡಗಿಸಿಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ. ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ನಾನು ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕವಾದಂತಹ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನ ಅರ್ಪಿಸ್ತೀನಿ. ಹಾಗೆ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ವಿಭಾಗದಿಂದ ರಾಜೇಂದ್ರ ಪ್ರಸಾದ್ ಸರ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಇತಿಹಾಸದ ವಿಭಾಗದಿಂದ ಅರವಿಂದ್ ಸರ್, MN ವೆಂಕಟೇಶ್ ಸರ್ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೂಡ ಭಾಗವಹಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನ ಅರ್ಪಿಸ್ತಾ ಈ ಒಂದು ದ್ರಾವಿಡ ಮಹಾಕಾವ್ಯಗಳ, ತೆಲುಗು ದ್ರಾವಿಡ ಮಹಾಕಾವ್ಯಗಳ ಕುರಿತಾಗಿ ಮಾತಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ನಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಪುಲಿಕೊಂಡ ಸುಬ್ಬಾಚಾರಿ ಸರ್ ಅವರು ತಕ್ಷಣಕ್ಕೆ ಒಪ್ಪಿಗೆಯನ್ನ ಸೂಚಿಸಿ ಸೂಕ್ತ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಮತ್ತು ಸೂಕ್ತ ವಿಚಾರಗಳನ್ನ ಇವತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮೊಂದಿಗೆ ಹಂಚಿಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ನಿಜವಾಗ್ಲೂ ದ್ರಾವಿಡ ಮಹಾಕಾವ್ಯಗಳಿಗೆ ಆಚರಣೆಯ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಸಂಬಂಧ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಿತ್ತು, ಆದ್ರೆ ಜಾತಿಯ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಇದು ಹೇಗೆ ತಳಕನ್ನ ಹಾಕೊಂಡಿದೆ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದು ನನಗೆ ಹೊಸದಾದಂತಹ ವಿಷಯವಾಗಿ ಗೋಚರಿಸಿತು. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಶ್ರೀಯುತರಾದಂತಹ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಪುಲಿಕೊಂಡ ಸುಬ್ಬಾಚಾರಿ ಸರ್ ಅವರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ನಾನು ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕವಾದಂತಹ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನ ಅರ್ಪಿಸ್ತೀನಿ. ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ಮಗದೊಮ್ಮೆ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕವಾದಂತಹ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು.
ಬಹಳ ಅದ್ಭುತವಾದಂತಹ ಒಂದು ವಿಚಾರವನ್ನು ಕೇಳಿ ಬಹಳ ಖುಷಿ ಅನ್ನಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಮತ್ತೆ ನಾವು ಮುಂದಿನ ವಾರ ಭೇಟಿಯಾಗೋಣ. ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಟು ದ ತಮಿಳ್ ಫೋಕ್ ಎಪಿಕ್ ಅನ್ನಮರ ಕತೆ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದು ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ J. ಜೋಸೆಫ್ ಆಂಟೋನಿ ರಾಜ್ ಅವರು ಸೈಂಟ್ ಝೇವಿಯರ್ ಕಾಲೇಜ್, ಪಾಲೇಂ ಕೋಟೆ, ತಮಿಳುನಾಡು, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಅಧ್ಯಾಪಕರಾಗಿ ಮುಖ್ಯಸ್ಥರಾಗಿ ಕೆಲಸ ನಿರ್ವಹಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರು ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ತಮ್ಮ ವಿಚಾರಗಳನ್ನು ಮಂಡನೆ ಮಾಡಲಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಮತ್ತೆ ತಮಿಳಿನ ಮಹಾಕಾವ್ಯಗಳ ಬಗೆಗಿನ ವಿಚಾರಗಳೊಂದಿಗೆ ಬರುವ ವಾರ ಇದೇ ವೇಳೆಗೆ ನಾವು ಭೇಟಿಯಾಗೋಣ. ನಮಸ್ತೆ. ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು.
ನಮಸ್ತೆ ಅಂడి అందరికి.